I'm David Cameo, and we are Squawking Dead, a podcast pulverizing episodes of the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we give you news, sometimes we make you laugh, but most times we go deep. And we're back, everybody. We're back breaking down episodes. It's been a little while. We've had a few interviews, as I'm going to mention in this episode. Yeah, we're back. And I just wanted to say hi, first of all. Sharondy's in the chat. We got a whole bunch of stuff in prep for Fandemic. We're going to be there as we're going to have an artist table. We're going to have some free stuff, some acrylic pins for our ko-fi.com members. Now the thing is over here. We have the Walker's Tier pins, the Whisperer Tiers pins, and the Survivor's Tier pins, as well as a bunch of stickers, some free stuff. So say hi. And I just want to say, hey, we're back. This is breaking down the episode, The Walking Dead episode 9 of season 11, B, called No Other Way. I don't have too much to say, or I haven't done this in a while, so this is a little bit difficult. We've laid things around. We've actually changed things around. We have a couple things down here to let you know that if you're watching on any other platform, head over here to YouTube so that you can join us in the chat. And if you're on Instagram, you'll notice that there is a chat widget down below that shows you the various different platforms we're streaming on. But in the chat there, you can't comment on Instagram, but this is kind of to give you a little incentive to join us on YouTube as the episode premieres. Now, on the other platforms, you only have 10 minutes of a preview, but if you go to YouTube, you'll have the full episode. So that's just to let you know that that's what's going on. We've been doing this for about a couple months now, and pretty successfully, but we're trying to unify the streaming so that it's a little bit simpler for me. So, anywho, I don't know if there's anything else, but I did want to recap a couple of things that we did. We had an interview with Christina Evangelista. We did an interview with Bailey Gavlik before Christmas. We did our Madison Returns live stream recently to, I think we did a good job. We had a good diverse set of opinions on the matter. We still haven't done our Walking Dead World Beyond Stinger, our post-credit scene breakdown. We will probably do that a little later in the year as we get more news about the Rick Grimes movies, if that's even happening. Other than that, I can't think of anything else, guys. If you have anything for me, I don't know. Anyway. Our Jackbox Games charity livestream was a resounding success. We got a whole bunch of people signed on to ko-fi.com/squawkingdead. But also we raised a bunch of money for Vanessa. I'm so happy that we were able to do that. And getting updates from her via DM every now and again to say that, I was able to pay off this bill, that loan, that personal loan, has been so rewarding. And I hope we get to do something like that again. I want that to be the format for our giveaways from here on in. Be more charity-based, less about us, more about you and how we can help you, because we are TW family and we are Squawking Dead. Anyway, I want to give you the episode. It's a 2-hour episode that we shortened from a full 3 hours recording session. The unedited episode is actually pretty damn good. I feel bad that I had to shorten it, but we didn't have all the footage, plus the quality footage for editing, and some technical difficulties there. But also, we couldn't keep everything in there anyway. We kind of expand a little bit more in the unedited episode, and if you want that, head over to ko-fi.com/squawkingdead. Just follow us. You'll know when the episodes drop. You'll know when we do another recording session. This way you can jack in and be in the chat while we record, or at least get the unedited episode streams early, like a week early, before they air publicly. But just follow us. You don't have to buy us a coffee. You don't have to join a membership tier, even though you can join one for as little as $1. Which gives you access to our Discord, which means you can talk to us directly behind the scenes, get to know what we're doing. There's a lot going on there. Join the family. Without further ado, here is the episode. I will see you in the chat as this episode premieres, and if not, hit us up in the comments. Remember to give this episode a like. And remember to subscribe to our YouTube. Why haven't you yet? So sad. We are Squawking Dead, a podcast pulverizing episodes of the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we give you news, sometimes we make you laugh, but most times we go deep. I'm your host, David Cameo, and I'm joined by Sharon D, aka Blazy Gardner, Survivors tier members, that's why I don't have to say it 3 times, Jasmine.iac on Instagram, we got Bridget, ex-Prophecy Girl on Twitter, and Eliza Jones71 on Instagram as well. All 3 Survivors tier members, and you could be a Survivors tier member. I think there's 1 slot left in our Ko-fi memberships. It's ko-fi.com/squawkingdead. Join us during our recordings either on camera, if you have the right tier, the Survivors tier, or you could join us in the audience in the real-time chat. We're here to talk about the 9th episode of Season 11, the mid-season premiere, well, the second trimester premiere of The Walking Dead's 11th and final season, which was interesting. I've watched it 3 times, including our Dave Reacts, which should already be out. Actually, the first thing I wanted to do was, because I was waiting for an actual episode breakdown to bring this up in our conversations, because I'd received some. This is how long we haven't done an episode breakdown. We've done tons of interviews, though. We've done an interview with Bailey Gavlik. We did that in October, but we only aired it Christmas week, the week just before Christmas. We did a bunch of episodes. We did an interview with Christine Evangelista. You can catch that on our YouTube and or podcast. That was really awesome, and we're still promoting. I just released the blog as of this recording today, which contains a bunch of pictures, references to some of the things we talked about, like the Netflix series, Strip Down, Rise Up. Mm-hmm. That was cool. Haven't watched it yet.
Haven't watched it,
but I have the link there for you when you want to. But yeah, a bunch of references, bunch of pictures, and obviously the audio and video for your enjoyment. What else? We did the Jackbox Games charity live stream. If you want to watch all 7 hours of that, that was interesting too. Although we got a lot of, YouTube watch hours from that, so that paid off a little bit, and it was a fun ride. I think I'm definitely interested in doing something like that again. But I wanted to actually read out some holiday cards that I received since then, and it's February, the middle of February, but I might as well.
Yeah, I got Rachel's the other day.
I just got Rachel's yesterday, oddly enough. So this is Rachel's. This is the front of the card. Peace on earth will come to stay. And this one says, Happy Holidays, Dave and Evie. I read this to Evie already, so it's kosher. Thank you for bringing me into and basically giving me the family I have now. Evelyn, thank you for being the most understanding wife in the world, and have a wonderful holiday. And what it says here, when we live Christmas crossed out, Hanukkah every day. So there you go. You see that right here. That was cute. Next one's from we've got Katie.
Her Instagram is Glenn's green
balloons.
green underscore balloons.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, let me show you the card. Peace on earth. It's cool. It's nice. Very cool. I love pine trees. Who doesn't? Hope you've been well and this year's been good to you. You better be coming to Fandemic or the camp. Have a fabulous rest of the year. Your friend, Katie. Here's to a beautiful holiday season. Merry Christmas.
Since you're talking about Katie, may I show something really quickly? This is what she sent me.
Okay, steady. Oh, it's like your fleece blanket.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet.
That was from Katie.
And from the audio, so for the audio podcast, it's like Sharon D's fleece blanket. It has John and June in the front from probably season 5, I would say. Yeah, season 5.
Yeah, it's from Humbug's Gulch.
Yeah, that's right. And like the little bit, is that wedding in the background, or was that like just them?
This is all from Humbug's Gulch. The artist is Karinae, Carinae _D.
Oh, Karina D, yeah.
Karina, yeah.
Yeah, we know her. We did some work with her for giveaways when we first started out. She's great. She does a bunch of different things.
Here's my gift from Eliza.
Oh yeah, that's
I gotta show that too.
Breathe With Me poster.
704.
Featuring Sarah Benowitz, and we actually gave that one away. This is one of those limited releases, right?
Yeah,
Numbered and signed.
there was only 5 of those.
Mm-hmm.
From Kirk Manley.
Mm-hmm. And
yeah,
one of them.
You can check that out.
We
hope
we go to Mo.
We hope it's number 1 of 5. I think it is.
No, that's mine.
That's mine. You're number 1, Eliza.
I think I've got number 3.
Yeah, hers Moses too.
Yeah, I've got 3.
Yeah.
Mo's in second place. Anyway, so I got this last card here a little while ago, obviously. This one's from Yvette. We call her Vetty. In the BMNY chat, this is peace and love throughout this season. It's a little snowflake there with a snowflakey tree. And this one says, "Dear Dave and family, and into the new year, wishing you a very merry season and fabulous 2022. Lots of love, Eddie and Marco Jr." That's very nice. She's the best. She's been sending these since we started too. I got this funky scarf from her too, which she knitted us both scarves, me and my wife, and I took my wife's scarf because it's way more outlandish. And I gave her the muted scarf, like the white, blue, and light print. Like, it's like, okay, normal looking. I took the one with purple and yellow and little stringy bits of what looks like, what is that called? Tinsel? It almost looks like tinsel. Purple tinsel. She's the best. As far as this episode goes, why don't we start with, I wanted to start with how this episode made you feel before we start describing things and going into things in detail, because I can easily see people having a different like emotional or overall feeling about this episode. Like whether it was satisfying, that's something we can talk about. It took me like a couple of watches to really, really feel the impact of this episode because there's a lot going on. Talk about the stark difference between between ensemble and anthology style episodes because we're following a lot of threads, and very, very interesting things happen in parallels with each set of characters. I felt like some things fell flat, but overall, because of what they did at the end, we're being set up for a whole lot of finality. There's just the feeling of finalness. There's something's coming to an end, and how it's going to end is going to really is what doesn't give me too much hope. Even though I know where they're headed, they're painting a picture of bleakness. Even though I know where they're going, so there's going to be like a lot of light against dark, or dark against white background, or white against black background, but I'm thinking the former. Just darkness nestled within a white background of hope for the future. But for now, it's pretty somber, I've got to say. Doesn't give me much hope for some characters. But Lisa, how did you feel about this episode? But by the time you finish watching it,
extreme levels of frustration
okay,
towards like the first half of it, and then I also felt that kind of just foreboding towards the end. But the first half, just high levels of frustration with several different characters. Very much a dark foreboding towards the back half of the episode.
How about you, Bridget?
Well, one, I was just excited that Walking Dead was back on. So like I had that
that counts.
I don't know. I've been watching since 2010, so I had that excitement, like that butterfly stomach feeling where I was like so excited that the show was going to be back on, and then insanely sad because I know that it's coming to an end, and it's like,
wow, you felt all those things.
And I'm such an emotional person. I cry a ton, which you guys don't know because I can pretend that I don't cry on the internet, but I cry a lot. I'm a big crier, and so I can tell that like as we get closer and closer, like these episodes are going to become more and more emotional for me because there's such a connection there because of my personal life and what I was going through at the time when I like first started watching to now. Like my life is very different now. So it's just a lot bubbles up. But with the episode itself, because I watched it more than once.
Wait, do you feel like you had to watch it more than once to get?
I felt like if I didn't watch it a second time, would I really be qualified to talk about it? You know what I mean? I
appreciate that.
I have my like initial like gut reaction to it, but my initial gut reaction to the episodes always is, I love the show so much that I'm just immediately happy. But after that, or shocked or whatever, like emotion it's meant to elicit, like in that first watch. But then when I watch it a second time, things come up that I'm like, well, I'm not one of those people that wants to eviscerate episodes. I am not. I love the show. But things come up that I'm like, ugh, like that doesn't make any sense. Or
similar to Elisa, basically.
Yeah,
we'll find out soon
where
enough.
There's like little bits of frustration, and it's bits of frustration and it's involved in the plot. And I'm sure that the writers meant for it to kind of bring out some of that. But I don't get it until the second watch.
I totally think you have to watch again because you're right. We watched for the first time for just the sheer pleasure of, it's back on. And then you've got to watch again and rewatch again to really pay attention to the different nuances and the different, what they call them, the Easter eggs that get put in that you really have to pay attention to that lead you down a different path.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. I thought...
Wait, may I cut in for a second? Have we ever had you on for a Walking Dead episode?
No, because I didn't join until after the...
She's a virgin.
I love it. No, I'm letting that stand. I'm gonna make the cut. She's a virgin, and then go straight to Jasmine. Not react.
I mean, have been on the Fear and the World Beyond.
No, you need to cut to Eugene. You need to cut to Eugene.
We're all friends. We're all friends. Like that's what it's gonna. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that.
That's awesome.
The first half of the episode, the like the Reapers storyline, I actually found that like really satisfactory. I liked like all the badass scenes, like the Gabriel moments, the Carver fight, Maggie going absolutely apeshit. So I really enjoyed all that. That didn't frustrate me. Something that I was a bit disappointed with was like the Alden reveal, because I didn't feel like as much as I love the character of Alden, I didn't feel that emotional connection to him, and I don't know, I feel like that scene could have maybe been done better. And then in terms of like, you know, them returning to Alexandria and then the reveal of like the Commonwealth showing up, like that has just made me like so excited and so nervous at the same time, because in terms of like 11A, the Commonwealth storyline, that's what I've been focused on. Like I enjoyed some of the Reaper arc, but it's like nice to like get past that and like start moving forward.
Well, yeah, especially because the Reapers are just superior to everybody in just in terms of physicality, at least, and also in terms of morality, they're just completely stuck in some sort of wartime PTSD, whatever you want to call it. Like that everybody's the enemy, and we're the only ones that should be around. So of course everybody wants to get past it. It's like, when can we deal with the lame shit? I mean, when you compare it, like, okay, there's the lame shit of the Commonwealth, because it is kind of lame. In terms of, like, the change in format of the show, typically from where it's been the last 12 years, really. Which is to say, oh, we're not fighting one enemy to the next. We're not trying to overcome this one dick to another dick. We are Squawking Dead, a podcast pulverizing episodes of the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we give you news, sometimes we make you laugh, but most times we person will stand the test of time. They'll people.
So, you know, they could have definitely made all their own munitions.
Yeah, and I expect that much too. Like, and I think about some of my army.
I mean, and also being mercenaries, they're
And she's the finisher. She's the closer.
well, first.
Get past that and like start moving forward.
Well, yeah, especially because the Reapers are just superior to everybody in just in terms of physicality, at least, and also in terms of morality, they're just completely stuck in some sort of wartime PTSD, whatever you want to call it. Like that everybody's the enemy, and we're the only ones that should be around. So of course everybody wants to get past it. It's like, when can we deal with the lame shit? I mean, when you compare it, like, okay, there's the lame shit of the Commonwealth, because it is kind of lame. In terms of, like, the change in format of the show, typically from where it's been the last 12 years, really. Which is to say, oh, we're not fighting one enemy to the next. We're not trying to overcome this one dick to another dick. This is more like, okay, politics.
But
we're
so
dealing
was
with
Jonestown. But you saw how that turned out.
But less Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I'm quite excited I'm excited to see where this is gonna go.
It was Flavor Aid. I just want to. That is a common misconception.
Oh, I'll take that correction. I will take that correction. It's the bargain basement Kool-Aid. But yeah, it deals with politics, which is a battle on a different plane, you know, which is not something we're used to. I mean, we got hints of it at the Sanctuary. We got hints of it, albeit completely dictatorship style. We got hints of it in Woodbury a little bit, but you know, just like The Walking Dead, brutality and inhumanity kind of just take over eventually, right? But this is going to be a whole other animal. This is not about, you know, who has the biggest guns. This is about what we ultimately want as a society versus what we're getting. It may still deal with blood and guts, but on a whole different arena, let's say. But Sharon, this is why I kept you for last, because I know you're going to be way more descriptive in your feelings. No, I mean, I welcome it. She's the finisher. She's the closer.
Well, first of all, I want to say, Bridget, I love your doggy.
Oh, thanks.
He's up on the bed behind you. I keep seeing him walk around back there.
It was Frankenstein.
On the whole, I really liked the episode. I really liked the Maggie, Negan, Leah, Daryl. I loved that part, okay? The part back in Alexandria, and I have reasons I'm going to go into about that later. That I could have take or leave that whole section. And to me, it kind of felt like the end when everybody was back in Alexandria. It almost felt like that was kind of tacked on. Like, I feel like it should have ended, like, not even with everybody coming back. They should have ended the episode at at Meridian and then started the, I mean, it just felt forced to me. It just felt kind of shoehorned in there, and especially the part with the Commonwealth at the end, which I'm going to understand why they did it. And that's an interesting way to go about it, to give us a hint of what's coming, 6 months down the road. That was interesting and all, but it just felt weird to me. Like, I feel like they should have ended it at Meridian and put them coming back.
Well,
Just in terms of storytelling.
Sharon,
just
they're
felt
trying to put
out,
so much information into these last few.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I understand. I mean,
killing us.
right. I mean, I understand why. It's just it just didn't feel. It just felt wrong to me when I was watching it. Like it didn't really take away from the enjoyment of the episode or anything. That part just felt kind of forced.
I understand that. That makes sense.
I loved the Meridian parts. I know we're going to go into that later because it was great. But yeah, I mean, on the whole, I really enjoyed it. It was fun.
Did you feel the same frustrations that Eliza and Bridget expressed mostly?
There were things that frustrated me, but it wasn't with the episode itself. It was things that people in the episode are doing.
Yeah, I think that's what they're referring
that's
to.
exactly what my frustrations are about.
Yeah.
As cheesy as those firework kills were, that was awesome. I loved it so much. I was like, this is so cheesy and so 80s horror movie, and I that is my jam. Like, I am obsessed with like bad horror movies and that like B-list kind of thing. And so that was awesome. I loved that.
Did you expect that though? Because I was when we were doing the research for what the Watcha does, really, it really was meant to repel people from fortified locations. Let's say, which it was from an above location that they were shooting it, accurate, but I didn't expect to do the damage that it was doing. Not at all.
No, I didn't either. And I was actually I looked up what it was. Obviously, I think everyone did that after that episode where they introduced it.
What's a
what is
Watcha?
this? So I looked it up and I was like, oh, okay, like I get that. So it's like, essentially having like a bunch of archers, kind of like that's what I figured. So I guess it's just one of those examples of like they would use what they have access to, and like who the hell is gonna go looking for fireworks in the apocalypse? Like those are all gonna get left behind. So like it made sense in a way,
Or not work.
but it was weird, and like I said, it was cheesy, but I loved every second of that. It was awesome.
They totally could have made their own.
Yeah,
That would make more sense to me.
They're munitions experts and whatnot,
That's been like the baffling part about the Reapers coming in, because now we've like gotten used to this whole world where there's like not really guns and bullets and stuff anymore, and then these people come in and they have all of that stuff still.
Or they make all that stuff still.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and also being mercenaries, there's no reason to think that they didn't have a large supply of that stuff already. So wherever they were staying, they possibly had all these bullets and guns and all that already
And
in
they
their
knew
supplies.
probably, like you said, being munitions people, how to utilize their things that they were able to find to make into explosives and
Even in Humbug's Gulch in Fear, John was taking a box of bullets because he was going to take the powder out of them to make explosives or something.
John Dory for people.
So they could have definitely made all their own munitions.
Yeah, and I expect that much too. Like, and I think about some of my army buddies and what the knives that they have. Let's say I'm just going down to brass tacks. Like knives that they have, they're military grade. They're almost indestructible. I mean, everything that they have on their person will stand the test of time. They'll oil them, rub them, sharpen them.
I thought that was what all men did.
Are we talking about Merle again? Just rubbing his nub. Anyway, so all right. But anything else to say about the? It's more of an Eliza joke, everybody. If you want to know what we're talking, wasn't that the first Secret Santa?
That's a Secret Santa joke, y'all. That's the first Secret Santa.
Head over to Blazy Gardner's YouTube channel and watch the first Secret Santa video we did. You'll understand what I mean.
Rubbing his nub.
Oh, it's just the best one.
I had poor Merle.
Rubbing nubs and sharpening knives.
As far as that scene goes, when that guy was kicking Maggie's butt in the little trailer they were in, and that guy picked her up and slammed her against the wall, and while I was watching, legitimately went, "Oh shit!" Yeah. I was like, "Holy shit, Maggie's a beast."
And the only way she got him was the nut cruncher.
She got her ass kicked a lot so far.
That's what every woman's go-to, needs to be.
Oh, okay. So now that Eliza just opened up a door for me, now that Eliza just said that, can I please just go off on what I'm upset about?
Sure.
No,
She just opened
I
the
think
door
we
right
closed the door on the Watcha.
Aaron, what are you doing? Why have you not taught Gracie to fight? How can this kid be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old and not know how to protect herself? What are you doing?
Blowing a damn whistle.
Do you know what he's doing? He is creating a Sam Anderson.
I mean, I don't know.
Because she is so scared, she is not going to know what to do. When her and Judith are in the basement, she was absolutely zero help, period.
Yeah.
Nothing. She stood there and screamed.
The kids are getting some training, though.
No. If she had training, then she would be doing something. She's, oh, help me, Judith! Help me, Judith! What? No.
And who trained?
No.
I'm just looking at Jasmine.
Get Rosita to train this kid. Why do you
This is
have
a really good
Judith
discussion.
teaching
Carol,
this child? I'm so angry at Aaron. I'm so mad at him for not teaching this child.
Hold on a minute. Like, okay, this is where I'm going to go in and be the guy to do the things. I think we can all agree that there are going to be some kids that just don't get it, even though they want to get it. Clearly, Gracie has expressed, "I want to know how to fight, but I don't know what the fuck I'm doing." You know, in that one episode.
Which is why you get Rosita to train her. Like okay, you want even Huck. I remember Huck and Hope. Hope
talking about the Walking Dead world.
She wasn't good at it, but she was still able to kill a walker.
For a second, can we just reflect on the fact that Judith dropped her sword after
There's no
killing
reflection in this
killing 2 walkers, and then and Judith's 2 years older. Judith only managed 2 more walkers than Gracie.
Well,
yeah,
with an excess. With an excess of extra training, she dropped her sword after killing 2 walkers. They are children. Yeah. Maybe they're just starting to learn. Maybe within the last 3 months, they've decided since the Whisperers, now it's time we need to actually train these kids, and is still very new to the training, and she obviously hasn't had any real world kind of safe practice. She hasn't been to the beaches of Oceanside and swing around a sword in a safe environment.
I agree with you, but why not? Why hasn't she? Why has Aaron, he's her dad, why is he not doing his job and teaching this child?
There's no time.
I'm sorry, Carl was doing that. They've had 7 years. She should have had a sword in her hand by the time she was 3 years old.
But don't you remember Carol got in trouble for teaching the little kids?
And look what happened there. None of those kids knew how to protect themselves, and they all died.
But they are still very young, and there's time.
They're very young. Not everybody's going to take to it as quickly as... Everybody's different. But I also think we are forgetting that there was an entire Whisperer War, which, spanned a year and a half, I think, technically, in real-world time. Which, how old was she then? Let me dial it back a little bit. I think, as a father, and maybe you're right, there's an argument where you're definitely right. Okay, maybe as a father, Aaron wants to shield Gracie from the horrors of the world, which is what Alexandria was supposed to stand for. Mm. And, I think we can agree with that, what it was supposed to be. And then it all went to hell in a handbasket in the last 2 years, in real world times. And of course, circumstances change, and maybe he should have been more prepared. But, we're Monday morning quarterbacks. That's just my opinion.
Gracie...
we have a certain vantage point where we know what happens.
Gracie she doesn't have the same mindset as, I don't even think Little Herschel. I think he's probably got more of a mindset, of protection and being safe. Gracie was the one who stood by the window that, got the attention of the walkers to the house, and then blowing the whistle, which brought more walkers. If it is her age and her naivety and the fact that she has been so sheltered from it, but that is Aaron's fault. In this world that they're in, they can't have a Sam or they can't have another Lizzie. They've got to teach the kids the way that Michonne and Rick taught Judith from a very young age.
But what the opposing argument to that is, though, is that Aaron doing that would be anti his character as well. Aaron was the one always bringing people in, trying to get people to safety, always engendering the human heartbeat of the show, in a sense. So, I'm sure he supports the children getting training, but it just doesn't seem like his character to want that for Gracie ultimately.
After 12 years in the apocalypse, they should know that you have to teach your kids how to survive. Yes, it is 12 years because they say it, and here's Negan. This isn't now. This isn't a civilized world. This is the apocalyptic world. You can't shield your kids from everything. You have to teach them. They have to know or they're going to die. They made that mistake with Sam. Sam was sheltered. Look what happened to him. And Jesse, by the way. So what's going to happen to Aaron? Is he going to die trying to save Gracie because he did not teach her how to survive?
That would be an interesting plot point.
This is why I'm mad. And I'm not mad at Gracie. Mad at Aaron. She's just a kid. I am mad at the adults in Alexandria for not taking the steps to teach these children how to defend themselves in this world.
I think they've been trying, but it just when met with actual adversity,
Yeah.
Gracie crumbles.
Yeah, maybe it's down to genetics. Savior genetics.
I don't know about that. Savior genetics.
Savior genetics.
Make dumb people.
Yeah.
It's a whole other conversation. You know what I often find is when we're mad at someone, it's mostly because we want that young person to be safe.
I don't even like kids, but
And
I still don't
think
want them to
that's
get
why,
eaten.
you know, kind of fast forward
It's a callback.
when we see Rosita and we see Daryl as Commonwealth soldiers. I think they go there and try to acclimate there for the kids that are under their guardianship or are their children. And speaking of kids, who's going to take care of Adam? Who's got Adam now?
Right. Alden has expired, as we've seen in the show, and that's actually the first thing I thought of, actually, when we see the zombie corpse of Alden crawling towards Maggie, and which arguably, to me, paralleled the John and June thing a little bit.
100%. That was exactly my first thought. Was
just because the approach, and she wasn't afraid of him biting her and everything. But to your point, Lisa, that's what the backdrop of the rest of the season is going to be like. It's going to be, is this what we want for our kids? Do we want to have them fight in this Kundalini yoga scenario where we're constantly on edge and we really have to understand the dangers of this world?
Yeah.
Or do we want a better world and make tremendous social sacrifices to be in that world? That's what we're going to be contending with.
If you want your kid to see that better world, they have to
Right.
survive the one they're in.
Unless you pull the ripcord and you go with the Commonwealth. That's really what they're going to be faced with.
But they don't know. But they don't know the Commonwealth
Right,
is coming
right.
until now.
But now that they're here, and they're officially here, and this kind of brings back a conversation that we actually had a little while ago. I said, does it make sense that everybody needs to know everything? I need to know how to defend myself. I need to know how to make wicker baskets. I need to know how to make bread. I need to know how to fish. I need to know how to grow crops. Or does it make more sense to segment the population to certain specialties? This is an expert fighter that knows maybe some other things. This is a basket weaver that knows how to do other things. You know what I mean? And I got a lot of shit for it. I said maybe it is better to know your specialty and learn how to live a more balanced life that way.
You can have compartments. That's fine. But and I'm sorry, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse here. But if you're gonna survive, in order to use these skills that you have, these compartmentalized skills, you have to survive. Everyone should know how to fight. Everyone. What if you get separated? You're a basket weaver. That's great. You can weave baskets and you can cook. But if you get separated from the group, you're gonna die. And then your basket weaving and your cooking doesn't matter.
Is everybody expected to be able to fight in this, to the same level, let's say?
No,
And
but to protect oneself, yes. But to fight to the same level of Carol or Daryl or Rosita, no. But to protect yourself, yeah.
I just think they've shown us her trying to train, and I feel like it's just not taking. And I think that's everybody, though. I feel like there are some things that some people just can't do. And so what do you do then? I'm sure there's adults that don't know at the level that they may need to, that probably have already died. Let's just say that already. That they've probably already died. Or there are still some left, but they want to be at a level where they're 100% capable of protecting themselves, but they're just not there. They've had to rely on others in some way. I mean, look at Eugene for the most part. Like, he slowly over time acclimated to being able to fight. But we got to see that in real time. I guess all I'm saying is that everybody has their own pace. And maybe Gracie has yet to find it.
The scene where Aaron comes in to save the kids. I wrote this in my notes. That was Aaron's heroic dad moment, because he got to come in and then slam down his arm into the walker's head. But what I wrote for that scene was that walkers are a threat again, which for a while I know that was a lot of fan feedback was the walkers that we're seeing are not a threat in the Walking Dead proper TV show, and so there were some complaints about that, and this brought in that threat. And the whole time I thought, this is gonna be like that scene where, wasn't it Bob got bit in the water? They were in that basement collecting the canned food. That's what I kept thinking of. I was like, oh my god, he's gonna get bit under the water.
Yeah, at the
because
charity.
He's not gonna see one of the walkers, and so I had genuine anxiety during that scene. So I wanted to bring that up. We saw it earlier in season 11 with the episode with Lauren Ridloff, the Connie focused episode, where we saw more of those. Yeah, we saw more of those horror moments. and I'm just thankful that that's back.
Oh, I did want to mention one more thing about that scene. There's a moment that Lydia and he have that is like this interesting resolution to season 10, them in season 10.
Complete.
Which is, she goes, "You would do the same for me," after rescuing him. And I thought that was very interesting because he really didn't back in season 10. She was being bullied. He did nothing.
Yeah.
Over and over again. And then it ended up him not doing something, ended up not stirring a bunch of shit with Negan and the paranoia. If he had just nipped it in the bud, the bullying, there wouldn't be as much of a heightened atmosphere at Alexandria when the Whispers weren't even around then, even though they were assembling the herd.
Well, he didn't show her a lot of compassion when they went back to Hilltop. He still was kind of like, it's her. So for him, that was very much a redemptive moment in regards to his relationship with Lydia.
I mean, look at how that makes her look.
I love that he paused, though, because she, said it, and then he pauses, and it's almost like he thinks, yeah, I would. Now I would do that for you.
It meant more by him pausing than just being a reactionary.
She doing the right thing anyway, regardless of how she's been treated.
Yeah.
Which I just going to put a pin is a perfect parallel to the goings on of the rest of the other side of this episode when it comes to Leah and Maggie and Leah.
It's also a parallel to Alden and Gamma, because no matter what Gamma did, Alden treated her like shit. Wouldn't let her see the baby, wouldn't let her touch the baby, wouldn't let her hold Adam.
It was the same moment where Lydia was being treated like shit by Aaron anyway. So, which, when we went over that too, Rachel got me on her side a little bit on the fact that well, maybe you're right though. Maybe Gamma shouldn't be near Adam. Maybe just because you want to be doesn't mean you ought to be. But Lydia has sacrificed. Lydia has had to put up with a lot of shit.
Gamma fought with Hillside. I mean, Hillside.
But we didn't know.
Hilltop.
She didn't know yet. We didn't know that she was going to fight on behalf of the Hilltop. And at any point in time, she probably could have been doesn't even matter. The fact is she hasn't accrued the trust, yet. We want to trust her, but she's not there yet. That sort of thing. And we've seen that across the Walking Dead universe.
You think about Alden. Alden was a savior. And look at the dynamic of how he changed.
That's the irony, right?
We haven't seen Maggie that emotional over someone since Glenn.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about season 9.
Because she wasn't around when Jesus got killed, or Jesus.
She was emotional at the end of season 8, though, if you remember. Yeah. When finally we had Negan in our clutches, and never again after that. I do want to put a foothold here where I think maybe because that scene might have felt a little flat, where Maggie discovers Alden's Walker body, because of the span of our time. I think you're putting notes on all the few times we've seen her be super emotional after Glenn. Few times, and they are pretty big time. I shook when she exploded with just fury at Rick's decision to keep Negan alive. I was shaken. I was not shaken by this. I know in my head the significance of this moment, what Alden represents, him dying, second chances. I know what it was like to see and want Alden to be a part of Hilltop, even though he was penned in for several episodes. Again, span of time, accruing trust, showing that you can be trustworthy, but in seeing it. And that's the beauty of film. But in this moment, because of our span of time, our pandemic, the gaps between, within season 10, 10C, and then the huge gap until we got season 11, I can only imagine how much more powerful that scene is going to be for somebody who's binge watching the show for the first time. Maybe they'll feel a lot better.
I binge watched the entire season 1 to 11 in the run up with my flatmate who'd never seen it before, and she said to me as well when we were watching that scene, after we finished watching that scene, she said, even though I like Alden, I just didn't feel anything in that scene, and she's just coming out fresh from a complete binge watch.
Good to know.
Let me say that's probably because we already figured he was going to be dead. Even though there's not a big span of time, even if you're binging, there's still, 7? 5 episodes?
Well, we don't see him again.
Because it's episode 3, they leave him in the church. And then you don't see him again until 9. So that's 6 episodes that we're already he's already dead.
The easiest hack here is the fact that, just like Carl in a way, as impactful they tried to make his death, the fact that he died off screen, technically, when you die off screen, there's just something taken away. It's just, think about like watching Tyrese die across the entire episode practically. That was super powerful.
Yeah.
We got to see a journey into darkness, and then going back to Alden. Well, we got to see him stabbed, but like you said, for several episodes, and then he dies off screen.
Carl technically died off screen, but the lead up to him dying was enough. I did not need to see Carl die. I cried like a fucking baby to the lead up. So I was total. It did that did not lessen the impact.
I
at all.
was the same way with Sasha. I knew what Sasha had done, and it was torture watching that whole scene of Sasha taking that ride and those memories and that music, and it was like, fuck, you know.
Watching Carl write the letters and do paint the hands with Judith and pick the tomatoes. Oh my god! I just watched it the other night. And I was like,
Judith in the tunnels.
Yeah,
cried.
But do you think Alden died from his wounds, or do you think he was killed by the Reaper? Because he was crawling. Why would he be crawling unless like the Reaper broke his back or something?
It could definitely be the Reaper, but it looked like the Reaper had been dead for a while. Do you know what I mean? So it could be like one of their friends that just happened to hobble in and go, rah, rah, rah. But I was thinking if he bled out, which it seems it most likely was, like it could be that he doesn't have enough juices to stand up.
Blood.
juices.
I mean, is it blood? It's mostly sizzurp. So, I don't know. Just goopy, gelatinous plasma.
It's two Reapers that died in a church. In this episode.
We've seen people who died from bleeding out, and the walkers are kind of just not that
healthy.
Yeah, they can't stand up on their own, sort of thing.
Yeah,
they're just kind of. I mean, look at John when he washed up on the shore. Okay, don't look at John when he washed up on the shore.
Yeah, but okay,
because he was bleeding out.
Okay. But we watched Gage get his chest ripped open and blood pour out, and he was still standing up.
I think he was being held up.
I don't
which is
want
cool.
Charity to be a walker.
You want her to bleed out?
I said I don't want her to be a walker.
Oh no, none of us want that. Why would you
scare me?
She's saying that would frighten her, just in general. Just as a side comment. Besides all the kick-ass scenes that we got to see with Hondo Maris, who played I think it's Hondo Maris, right? Who plays Carver?
I love that.
I just want to say that scene with Carver and Maggie and Negan and Elijah made me laugh so hard.
Really?
I laughed the entire time. I was like, this is so funny. Okay, look. Our guys are the heroes. Our big bad fighters, they go kick everybody's ass. Oh, we just whoop everybody. And then they get in there with Carver and he kicks all their asses and just himself. It was so funny. It was so funny. Oh, let me speak up for Rachel. She said that it was totally accurate because in reality, a mercenary guy would kick all their asses just like that very easily. Yeah. So that was, there you go, Rachel. Miss you.
I think it really gave the Reapers some justice, because if they'd have just gone down super easy, we're just able to kill them all, that would kind of take away from the big threat that they made them out to be in the episode 10C. What's that one that we were in?
Mark you?
1017.
That guy?
1017, yeah, the Pope Mark you guy. And that whole kind of build that we have to the first time we see them to them making out that they're total badasses. I think when we were seeing Leah and Daryl and they were in there together, it almost kind of made them look a little bit less of a threat. When Daryl was able to easily get them away from Maggie and they were all just hiding in the little bottom thing. I think that redeemed them as an enemy to have that badass fight scene.
Yeah, in case you may have not appreciated their frighteningness.
Yeah.
That scene.
Yeah.
I didn't, but I can see a world in which, because we're all desensitized clods who think we know better, that I'm included, So every now and again, walkers are dangerous. Carl getting bit. That was the number one thing for me. It was they can still do that. Mm-hmm. Oh.
Well, even the guy that fought Daryl kicked his ass with a kick across the table,
That young kid named Austin.
Yeah.
Which I noted because the fact that this kid was a kid, he just looked very young, was one of those things that I noted because, we're talking about family, we're talking about the people you want to protect, and the guy says for Pope, that's like my dad.
Yeah.
And it looked like Daryl didn't want to have to kill this kid. You see him fighting for his life because obviously this kid's, and Norman's 50 plus, but he's choking him out. He's already stabbed in the gut. He's like, shit, I got to kill this kid. But after that fight, there's a concerted effort from Daryl to not kill anymore. Yeah. Because one of the things we noted before in For Blood was him not hesitating when it comes to killing that guy just after Leah killed Pope. Just not hesitating, not thinking that Leah may have a reaction to this, or that she has family too, and that if you ever loved her, you may not want to not hesitate killing her family. There's a concerted effort for him to say, we're doing this wrong. Kind of what Mancia says to Gabriel. Mancia is the minister guy who has that conversation. He kind of says, no one's above saving. And I feel like
that scene,
all of every
awesome.
Single moment that Gabriel was on the show in this episode was amazing. Every single moment.
Hashtag what? Hashtag what?
Yeah.
Call me Gabriel.
Yeah. But Negan's
over here
shit.
Yeah.
You know.
And then the bell when he's like, well, ding ding. Yeah, it was so good.
Let me get my Neggie in here. Because when she stood up off the floor and she looked at Negan and he looked at her,
he's like, I got you, boo. I got you, boo.
And she was looking at him and he was looking at her and something going on there.
If Maggie didn't have any respect for Negan, she wouldn't have given him a say in that. So.
There.
Yeah, it's respect, all right.
So I was wondering, as you brought up the thing about how Daryl kills that other guy without really thinking much about it. Yeah, is that what triggers this weird reaction from Leah, where all of a sudden now she is just taken on Pope's vendetta 100%, despite the fact that she killed him because he was getting all of her people killed?
You know what? I had thought about that. A lot happened in 1 second that, literally what you're asking changed the course of how this could have come down. He even says at the end of this episode, this is not what I wanted. But she regards him as a liar because it's like, if you love me, why would you not hesitate killing my family? That sort of thing. Now, after thinking about it months later, because it's been months, the one thing that I thought, and again, fully recognizing that we're all Monday morning quarterbacks who weren't in there in the moment, Daryl kills this guy because he knows that she killed Pope. So in a sense, he's also killing this guy because
protecting her,
protecting Leah, but she doesn't regard it as such. And giving Leah her due, it's not even giving her a chance to say her piece, to say why she did it, right? And then she just rolls with it anyway. She goes, "Yeah, Daryl killed Pope, which is to her benefit. You know, why have to deal with that?" What does Mancia says? He says, "Making peace is hard." You know, and if they found out that she's the one who killed Pope. That's going to be a fractured family, which is something that we're learning is what Leah does not want, but also now doesn't have a choice in.
It just seemed like such a drastic change from that previous, situation where we're seeing them on the roof, and then she's so upset about her family, and then all of a sudden now everybody is just dying because she's so adamant. Because it's not even they could have left. They could have left and everybody, would have been fine, and most likely Maggie wouldn't have come after them, but Negan would have said you would have gone after them anyway because she was so, she was on her vendetta about the whole thing. Theoretically, Lee could have just left and her family would have been okay. But she tells Carver on the radio they will not leave here alive. So she's on that
right.
We're killing
right.
all of them.
She has every reason to think that they'll win this. There's no reason why she shouldn't. They have more people and they have more training, and hell, if Negan hadn't pulled his little thing, they all three would have been dead in the fucking hallway anyway, because Carver would have killed all three of them. So there's no reason why she couldn't think that they would win. And maybe if they killed everybody, she could have gotten Daryl to go. Maybe
her
if all of his family was dead,
when
maybe Daryl would go
she
with
found
him.
Austin, and I think it was probably because he may have been the youngest of the group.
That's why I said that, yeah. But there's another piece of this puzzle too, and that's if you're puzzled, let me bring up this thing. When she meets Daryl for the first time, over time, and the impression is that he's not with his family anymore. The only person that she's looking for is Rick. He mentions nothing of this other camp. He never trusted her enough to tell her about Alexandria and all those people he left behind. When they finally encounter the Reapers in the woods and they capture Daryl and all that stuff, later on, he says, "Oh, I just trade with them." So there's a lot of mistrust that he's accrued.
He did tell her about his family before, because she asks him in 1104, "What about your family?"
Right.
He goes, "Man, my family picked the wrong fight with the wrong people a long time ago." So she does know that he had family, But
Hey,
she
a
thinks
white
now
lie
he's,
is
he's
still
like
a
they're all
lie.
gone now. So I've been on my own for a while.
Listen, I've learned a lot in my 43 years. You can't get away with that shit.
When he left
Yeah.
her and find me, he left her. He told her he was leaving to go back to his family. So she knows
He was
the
leaving
family
because
was
he
there.
wanted to make one more run to look for Rick. That was the reason why he left. You're talking about the cabin when she was like, "It's me or him," and of course Maggie had left. Maggie had left right around the time that Rick did anyway. So in a sense, he's still white lying. You know, he hasn't seen her in forever, but it's still a white lie. And she's noticing, okay, these people mean way more to you than you're saying they do. You know, in spite of all the lies, in spite of this guy dying because you lied, or not because you lied, but you could have saved him by just telling the truth or whatever the case may have been.
She was not going to let them leave
Maggie
Meridian.
says that to her, you know, at the end, like, you had your chance. You weren't going to let us leave.
I mean, that's the classic 3 times. Like on the radio with Carver while they were hiding behind the thing, a chance at the end, and there was I know there was another chance. Like in that last scene, there was like 2 chances where she was like, "We're ready to give you your guy. Just go."
Jensen, the woman.
Yeah. That's the other moment. That's right. With them, it's might makes right because we also have God on our side. That's almost ancillary, but the fact that it's there means that it gives them that much more reinforcement when it comes to being able to, like, we're following God's path. We can't do no wrong. But even if you throw all that out, we are it. You know, might makes right. We don't have to listen to you. We don't even need you. We are all we need.
Yeah.
That's it. We don't need, because all this whole time I was thinking to myself, when are people going to start populating? They're not thinking that far ahead. This brings us back to Neggie. Okay. Just kidding.
There's a parallel between Negan and Leah in the sense they're both leaders who are completely alone. But you just said it. Where Leah says we only need ourselves, Negan was not like that. People are a resource. So while they're very much alike in that they have both had
People, yeah.
I want to say settlements, okay? They both had groups that they've lost, and now they're both completely on their own. But Negan always wanted people, whereas Leah doesn't think they need other people.
But Maggie's actions at the end. Can I just relay the way I felt when I first watched it and then when I watched it a couple times again? At first, I was like, and I still am, frightened. For Maggie, like, say, for her soul, for the people around her, and I still am, but not as much now. And I'm noting that the gun she's using looks a hell of a lot like Rick's, except it's dark. Rick's was a white-handled Colt Python glimmering in the sun like a righteous protagonist. And the one she has is a dark, jet black, matte black pistol. Same size, same caliber probably, who knows. But she uses it to, like, just be this archangel of fury and vengeance. You see her possessed. She is going after those guys as they are putting their tail between their legs and running away. On first watch, that frightened me. But on second watch, we were all pointing out the things that make it so that, and again, I still feel like it doesn't feel right. And Daryl reflects what I feel. And he's yelling at her. Like, he walks, he's like, it's not what we're supposed to do. I forget exactly what he says. But he kind of just, it's bullshit. As he passes her by at the end. After she cuts him down. But she had given them a lot of chances. Kind of like Negan did back in season 8. Until he said, I'm just gonna kill these motherfuckers at Hilltop. Yeah, I am through giving these people chances. I have tried. So there is more of a parallel to Maggie and Negan than we thought. But can I get some of your impressions here? Did that feeling change from when you first watched it to when you watched it a couple more times? Did you feel the same as me, or how did you feel about Maggie's actions? Let's just start there.
The first watch to the last watch, I knew immediately when she looked over at him and went, Negan. That was the first time she had ever asked his opinion on anything. And I knew immediately what she meant when she looked at him and when he said, you know what I would do. She went right back to their campfire talk when he said, the only thing I would have changed is I would have killed all of y'all. And I think that was their telepathic communication. And she said, you're right. I've got to kill them all. I can't let them leave.
I hadn't thought of that. That's a great point. Like, that's
good point.
That's exactly what happened, was that he said that was the mistake that he made. And at first, Maggie's sort of taken aback by that. Like, because she says, like, why would you say that? And why would you say that to me? But I think what he was trying to give her was some clarity on the situation that they were about to enter, because he's been through all of that kind of stuff before. And so she didn't really see it until the end when she's like, that's right, he said the mistake he made was that he didn't kill all of us, so I have to kill all of us. That's a great point.
By letting any of them go and him saying, you know what, Maggie, you know what I would do. It was that if you let any go, they will rise back up and come back. And that was the mistake that he made. It was completely a symbiotic thought process right there. It was totally a throwback. And I think that's why he said what he said at the grave. You always knew what you were going to do. As cruel as his conversation was around the campfire, she took completely to heart the fact if you kill them all, you don't have that enemy coming back after you.
She wanted to kill them anyway, but she didn't actually make the decision to do it until Elijah was like, do it for Josephine, do it for all of them. Yeah. And then she got mad and went off. So, I mean, I feel like, look, I'm just going to say this right quick. Elijah irritated the shit out of me in this episode. She was like, yeah, Negan, you're right. But then she's like, I don't want to be you. Yeah. So I'm not going to do that. We're going to make the deal. We're going to let Daryl make the deal. We're going to let them go. Because I don't want to do what you would do. But then Elijah, do it for Josephine. And then she's like, you know what? Fuck it. Then I'm going to do it for Josephine and do it for all of them. But I don't think that when Negan said that, she immediately was like, yeah, you're right. I'm going to kill all of them. I think she was trying not to do that.
And didn't she walk underneath Agatha? Wasn't that Agatha?
That's another element. She's been there the whole time hanging over.
It was Agatha all along.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Agatha in the gallery.
See, for me, I'm kind of on the fence about whether, Maggie's decision was, so evil. Because from our perspective, and from Daryl's perspective, if Leah was out of the equation, would we be so against Maggie just, fucking killing them all? Because at the end of the day, these people, they killed loads of other people, they burnt down, all their shit, and then they came after them. So from Maggie's perspective, it's like, well, if we leave, what's to stop them coming after us again? My kid's life is in danger, the rest of my people. And I feel like if Leah wasn't in the equation, I think even Daryl would have been on the side, yeah, let's just kill these fuckers and get out of here. But it's only because Leah was there, a character that we actually do somewhat care about, and a character that Daryl obviously somewhat cares about, that it even went down that way.
So yeah, don't feel like we didn't want that to happen. That was awesome. But I don't think that she wanted to do it. I don't think that she wanted to do it, but she also didn't want to do it.
But if it wasn't Leah and Daryl trying to resolve things, she would have killed Carver then and there, and she would have hunted the rest down anyway. You
do bring up a very good point, Jasmine. Yeah. If there wasn't this anchor of a human being that we've actually tracked for a handful of episodes since 10C.
Yeah, I mean, I like Leah as a character. I don't want her to die. I want to see her again. Yeah. But without Leah,
I was glad she just got hit in the arm.
Yeah, without Leah, I'm like, fuck the Reapers, kill them all.
I think we will see. I think we are going to see her again. She's been in some of the.
I think she's going to team up with Negan.
I would like to see that.
Interesting.
I would like to see that.
Interesting.
I think they're going to team up in.
I can see that.
And fuck shit up again, like with Alpha.
Better get your socks on.
I'm hoping Leah's gonna come back changed though.
What if Leah and Negan are at Hilltop and that is why Daryl is there at the end? What if Maggie is keeping them safe at Hilltop and Daryl's
as much as I want Leah to stay, I don't want Daryl and Leah to be a thing anymore though, because like you guys saw that Connie scene, they need to be together.
I definitely hear where everybody's coming from. And I want to clarify. I did notice right away that what Negan may have been talking about is kill them all. But I also noticed that what he said in the beginning of the episode to Maggie while they were hiding away was, listen, as long as we get out of here, that's all I give a shit about. There's this dueling what I told you in the pits as a juxtaposition for the people these guys are versus what you are now. We're dealing with those people that you used to be. That we can kill everybody. We can get through any situation. We are going to kill everybody in the satellite station, people, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. If I had known that you guys were capable of this, I would have decimated you. I would have not made the mistake of saving you, keeping you alive. Maybe this is a good question. Do you think Maggie got the message wrong? But she's been faced with so much adversity. Every community she's been a part of, everybody dies except for her. Essentially, who's left from her people? We lost all those cool people that we got to see of her people, like Cole and Frost, who we thought was a traitor but really wasn't. poor Frost, and then the other big guy and
You don't remember his
Agatha.
name?
Duncan. Thank you. Sorry,
You
Jasmine.
don't remember his name?
He's just huge. He's a huge guy who couldn't break down the door because he was starving in the subway station.
The tall gray hair guy with the beard.
Oh, yeah.
He was the one that ran away with Gage in the first
Yeah, I
episode,
remember.
and then Daryl found him in the second.
Roy sounds right.
Roy or
Yeah, Roy. No, Roy. Just Roy. He got an arrow in the eye. He was one of the first of her people to fall.
Yeah, Roy.
Again. Sorry. But it's all of these things. And then having to be with
Herschel.
Mini Glenn. Herschel.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Herschel.
It's been a
Mini
long time.
Glenn.
I don't have to give a shit about this kid. Anyway, so being with Herschel and all the horrors that she saw on the road with him, the pregnant, armless, limbless woman tumbling down the stairs. Oh, and then it turns out she was a walker, having a walker baby.
That's weird.
All this stuff accumulates. And then I can see it. I can see it in my head. Agatha swinging from the rafters, knowing definitively that she would have taken them out if the situation was reversed.
I wonder if that was the first time that Maggie actually got a good view of Agatha.
Yeah,
She kind
maybe.
of, when she's down there with Wimpy Boy, she kind of looks,
You're talking about Elijah?
yeah, she kind of looks up, towards them. And I wonder if that's the first time she really gets a good view that is Agatha, because they came in at night.
Yeah, and she was on the inside, not on the outside. Because what do they usually do in olden times? They hang your head from spikes on the outside for people coming in to warn them. This was her hanging on the inside to remind everybody how awesome they are.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's crazy shit. But can I circle back to Elijah if that's okay? My thing with Elijah is
Low testosterone.
well, we have an issue because he came into the series really strong and looking adept. I know he's hurt. I know that. I know all that. And even at one point thinking Elijah was one of the Reapers, an ex-Reaper or something like that. But we know that's not
I
true.
still think he could be. That's why he wanted to kill them all, to keep his secret. Why else would he be so irrational? He's like, actually, I think I'm going to go with these people now. Like, the side I was on is failing now. I'm just going to switch sides. But I need to take care of the rest. I think Leah's going to come back and be like, by the way, Elijah was a Reaper.
Elijah
I mean,
was one of
he's
us.
a fucking badass fighter.
Or so because we just not have seen that again since that scene where he first comes on the scene.
He just got messed up seeing his sister. I think it just threw him off his kill.
Could be.
Or he just didn't want to kill any of the Reapers because he's one of them.
I'm looking at Sharondy. I'm looking at Jasmine. Is everybody frustrated with Elijah at this point? I'm looking at Bridget. She's not saying yes.
No, I think it's
Interesting.
tactical.
Okay. I am not, because he is a perfect callback to Daryl and how he used to be. Daryl, in that lineup scene, knowing that what he did by punching Negan in the face, I don't know if he knew. I doubt he knew. Even though he was tortured, even though he still got up and punched Negan in the face, not thinking of what that consequence, because of that action, he killed 2 instead of 1. And that second one was Glenn. So there is a really, really interesting fruit-bearing moment here where it's just like, oh, I know who that is. I was that guy. And I regretted it even to this day, where I actually had to apologize to Maggie again for what I did.
I think it's different though, because with
Of course it's different.
No, but with Daryl, it's like an impulse reaction. Like, he doesn't even have time to think about it. Whereas Elijah is like just hell bent for like the space of like that entire scene on having them die.
But Daryl was like that though, still as a person up until that point, just all impulse. I mean, he did stop to think when he got introduced to Aaron and helping people and bringing people in, but was still more or less reactive. And then season 9 onward, he's just more pensive.
Well, think about what he did with
Morales, you mean?
He just walked in and popped him.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Actually, that's one of the things I like about Daryl is he doesn't give a shit. He'll just shoot somebody. He's like, I don't care. Boom.
And yet you judge Elijah.
No,
Exactly.
I judge Elijah because that was not
I'm
the time
kidding,
to do
you know.
it. I'm sorry. It's just gonna sound really bad, but the expressions on his face were bugging me so bad. I was like, stop with the stop, just go away. It was bugging me. I'm sorry. I can't help it.
I want to roll this back because I recognize your frustration with Elijah, and I feel it too. But I feel it on a whole other level because Elijah is young. I was young too. I mean, I know it doesn't seem like I ever could have been young, right? But I felt what he's felt. I know what it is. I still do. I still know what that feels like. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
It doesn't matter how young you are. If you have survived 12 years into the apocalypse, you should fucking know stuff. You should know that this is not going to work out for you. If she's saying stop or I'm going to shoot you, stop. Don't get shot. Don't put everybody in that position. He got lucky that it was Gabe up there and not Jensen.
Yeah,
you know.
I agree.
I'm just saying.
But he didn't care at that point.
But he was putting everybody else in danger. It wasn't just him.
Just like Daryl. Nobody disagrees that Elijah's actions are completely frustrating. Yeah. But then I realized, okay, but what is it? Have I been that way? And I have. And it haunts me to this day.
It must be a guy thing.
Honestly, though, I really do feel that is the desire to get revenge or comeuppance is often a trait of men. The singular focus, the lack of spatial awareness when it comes to emotions, I mean, even I have a temper. It doesn't come out. It's rare. But I remember the last time it happened. It wasn't that long ago. It was actually a couple years back. Let me tell this story. It was a couple years back at my friend's rehearsal dinner. A friend of mine just kept yammering on about what I should be doing with the podcast, just telling me what I ought to do. Then starts to poke fun at me and jabs me. And it reaches, and I'm just like, I'm chill. I'm just like, fine. And then it reaches this point where I just start exploding. Like I just start elevated tones and not think. And I can feel myself say, I have to stop right now, but I couldn't stop myself. I just kept going. I kept getting louder and louder and like making everybody around me uncomfortable. And I'm conscious of it. I couldn't dial it back. Yeah. And it does bring up the elephant in the rider conversation. Like, the impetus of our actions is born out of emotion. We're not inherently rational beings. Rationale steers the elephant. The elephant is the emotion. We can only do so much. With the right amount of training, you can train the elephant, right? But the elephant is an elephant. If it sees a mouse, it's going to go and then go all over the place, right?
What you're saying about Elijah being like Daryl, the difference was, Daryl, they had never really been involved with the Saviors. Elijah has already dealt with these people. He knows what they will do. Mm-hmm. And Daryl was very early in the apocalypse. That was only a year in, a year and a half, maybe 2 years in. Yeah. This is 12 years. This kid's been in the apocalypse for 12 years. He should know better. I see your parallel, but there's a major difference.
There's a danger in existing this long in time, and maybe going back to the whole walkers can kill you conversation. When you've survived this long, it's not that you get cocky, but it's that it's been 12 years into the apocalypse. We think we've earned the right to want something more than survival. So then there's that part of your brain that clings on to like things like vengeance and righteousness and the desire to put down people who've wronged you, not just eking out some sort of survival. Despite the fact that, well, I don't know that Elijah's been with Maggie since the beginning. I don't think that's the case. I think she picked him up at Meridian, at the last place she was at. But, you get to want to do certain things that you want to be an artist. You want to be a painter. You want to be able to do things as a human being, even though you have to sharpen your skills and be a master at fighting and things that we talked about earlier too.
Well, it's like my mom used to say, you can want in one hand and shit in the other and see which one fills up fastest.
Yeah, listen, we all know that in this world, right? But then in that world, it feels like wanting something more than just survival. These are almost currency. Do you know what I mean? Like it's the thing that we want at the end of the day once we've killed all the things and made all the food and then you have to go to bed again. I don't know. I've been thinking about a lot this as I'm seeing this dire and desperate situation. Like, where is there room for? And there isn't. That's the point. There isn't. And you're right, Sharon D. You're 100% right. But it doesn't change the fact that we want those things, and sometimes it gets the better of us. That's all I'm thinking about is there room in this world outside the Commonwealth for anything more? Alexandria's promise for Rick and Michonne for wanting something more. Is there room? Does that seem like that's even possible? Is Alexandria the safe zone? It was. I don't see it, but I still recognize that people want it. You know what I mean? Like, I still recognize that people want to be human beings.
I mean, I know everybody loses their temper. Everybody does shit they shouldn't do. That's just human nature. But it is frustrating.
Well, especially against an enemy who
frustrating to watch them
doesn't want to check their shit. That doesn't have any hesitation. So what do?
We still don't know why Pope marked her. We still don't know why Pope marked her.
You have to say it right first of all, but I still take your point. We still don't know why. Anyway, so Anyway, all right. So the next thing I want to talk about is that Lisa wants to talk about is the scene with Mancia and Gabriel. First of all, let's talk about Gabriel. It's always good to do a little check-in, right? Because, and it's good that Bridget is here because I want to get her take. The feelings that you felt about Gabriel from when you first met him throughout time and now, has your opinion changed on Gabriel? And it could be even worse than it was before, but let's talk about that. Bridget, how did you feel about Gabriel when he first came on the scene compared to now?
He was such a sniveling baby at the beginning. I was not on board with him at the beginning for a while. I liked that he tried, and I felt like our group that we were following was really mean to him for a really long time. But I kind of understood because he didn't prove himself like as a fighter or as value in the community, and what he wants to offer, which is this ability to go to church and to participate in like a faith building community, is not something that they're focused on. They are not focused on that at all. They, all of the people that we started with, have gone through their own bouts of like losing their own faith. They don't have any of that because of what they've had to go through. He had a rough go of it for a while, but now this episode, this Gabe, I am in for this Gabe. This Gabe he's angry, and he's mad about, I'm just gonna go into it. He's mad about Mancia and the fact that Mancia claimed to talk to God. And Gabe said that God used to talk to him and doesn't anymore. And he just refuses to believe that God would ever talk to these people.
And something that we said before, like after this long, and he still talks to you, having been this long, when we're talking about survival, but like we're talking about religious survival, we're talking about our spiritual survival, right?
Yeah.
After this long, how does anybody, right? And yet Mancia.
I can't imagine continuing to have your faith at the end, like still going. I had a lot of respect for Herschel and him, utilizing parts of the Bible to say, like, one of my favorite lines in the entire show is, God said the dead would rise. I just didn't think it'd be like this. Like, that is like one of the best lines in the entire show. It's awesome.
I almost have to start backwards. He was totally looking at a reflection of himself in Mancia. And I knew, because I said it when we did the podcast, I knew that Mancia saw him in the woods. I just knew it. And whether he says God told him or whatever, he knew that he was there. Gabriel is 100% looking at a reflection of himself. And I think that is ultimately why he kills him, is that he is angry with himself for his lack of faith. When he killed the Reaper, when the Reaper said, will you pray for me? And he said, God's not here. And I think it just infuriated him to think that God would tell Mancia, I've got to protect my people. Well, we're doing the same thing. And we've always said that if we had been following the Reapers from the beginning, or if we'd been following the Saviors from the beginning, who would we be for?
Although I'd probably stop watching the show with the Reapers after they start killing a bunch of kids.
But if you notice, when he gets back to Alexandria, he is not wearing the collar. You see a white t-shirt, but the collar is gone.
When they killed the dogs and he burned his collar in the fire back in season 5.
But he's been wearing one before.
But he was wearing one the whole episode. But when Daryl and Gabriel are having that moment around the campfire, that's when he takes it off. And that reminded me of when he took it off by the fire that they had where they cooked like the dog meat and threw it in the fire. And that's the moment that he took it off as well. And he didn't put it back on.
But then Daryl asked him too, are you telling me to have faith? And he's like, yeah, I guess so. But, it is momentous. I don't know if Mancia would have killed him or not. He may very well have. But it was definitely one of those mirror moments for Gabriel, an angry moment for him. And I think that anger is a duality. I think he was angry at Mancia and at the Reapers, but maybe even angry at himself and God. Why has God stopped talking to me, but he's not stopping talking to you? And, what is it all for? I kind of felt like a callback to Fear when he was up on the roof and he's like, it's not Jensen, call me Gabriel. I kind of thought like Morgan, this is Morgan anymore. This is somebody else,
Do you think if he hadn't heard that gunshot go off, we know later that that's the shot, that's the warning shot.
Jensen, right.
And Jensen, do you think...
Good call, yeah. Just so everybody knows.
Do you think that Father Gabriel would have stayed with this man and heard him out more, or do you think he still would have made the exact same decision and stabbed him?
I think he would have made the same decision.
Because it is that gunshot that kind of makes him look over
Wakes him
and
up.
then stab him. So
Yeah.
I think just like Eliza, he would have made the same decision, but would he have made it that quickly? That and had he not made it that quickly, had Jensen not fired the warning shot just when he was having that conversation, could have turned out differently.
Right.
For everybody, right? I mean, it just makes you think. Is the shot God talking to Gabriel?
no, it's Jensen
At that
firing
specific
a warning
moment?
shot.
Listen, I'm not a religious person. I'm just trying to spook you out, like spooky beta shit that I was seeing this entire scene.
Wait, aren't you Jewish?
Like,
You just said I'm
I
not.
believe in spooky beta shit.
Gabriel in the Bible is God's messenger. And so,
Right.
you know,
Ooh.
so that's the message. He's supposed to be the one getting the, putting the message out. So Gabriel is the messenger of God. He's the one who blows the trumpets. He's the one who opens the bowls. I do think he probably would have done what he did. I think it was just that kind of pushed him faster towards it.
I agree.
But
Does anybody disagree, though?
If Gabriel had accepted Mancia's offer and stayed there, do you think Mancia would have killed him?
I do.
Because their thing was nobody's getting out of here
I'm not
alive.
sure.
I don't think he was like 100% like Pope is God. I think he thought, right, like this is like, I have my
Mencia?
yeah, I have my own
Yeah.
faith.
Okay.
I have my own faith, and God speaks to me directly. I'm not just going to blindly follow whatever Pope, Leah, whoever is currently in charge of the Reapers' orders. I'm not just going to blindly kill a man, especially another man of God.
And it's pretty clear that Pope does take some lead from Mancia also.
Yeah.
From when he was giving bereavement to
Turner.
Turner, thank you. Mencia says something that reminded me of a conversation we had, Eliza, me, and Rachel, actually, about doubt. And I thought that was very interesting because I don't think in the episode that we were discussing, I don't remember which one it was, but we were discussing spirituality and doubt when it came to, maybe it was that scene with Gabriel, but as it pertains to faith. You were talking about how there is no faith without doubt. And it wasn't mentioned anywhere, wasn't mentioned on the show. We were just talking about faith and that it requires doubt. Mencia says it literally what you said. It made me think of you immediately, Eliza. And then Rachel chiming in saying, I'm actually pretty religious. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I didn't know that, what? And then like having this interesting conversation about faith and what it requires. And blind faith is almost blasphemy. And, there should be some doubt introduced into faith so that we can question it and resolve it, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, one time I went up to my pastor and I said, I worry about my salvation, if I'm saved and if I'll go to heaven. And, he's like, well, have you done X, Y, and Z? And yes. And he said, well, that doubt shows that there's conviction. And where there's conviction, then you have choices. If you have no conviction, then, you'll do whatever. But if there's doubt of, is this right? Is this wrong? Then there's faith. You think about Thomas in the Bible. It literally took, Jesus before him saying, put your hand here. Was that, like you said, was that shot? Was that God saying, put your hand here? I'm talking,
Right.
Because we don't expect God to be the burning bush like Moses ran into,
Or literally speaking to you.
Sometimes it's the still quiet sound that you have to really listen to.
Or opportunity or moments where you see an opening and you choose not to take it or you choose to take it. That's God saying, hey, come here. It's okay.
Right.
But I wanted to cover a little bit because you literally have to watch this scene so many times to maybe realize that everything that happens is poetry in this scene. Mencia putting the knife away, putting his hand on his own hand to say it's harder to make peace.
Yeah.
Almost as if to say, and again, spooky beta shit. You are exactly where you need to be. I am doing this because God. I'm going to throw this out there. You tell me if you think otherwise, because I love to hear whatever you guys interpreted from the scene. Almost as if to say, you know what you have to do. God told me that you have to kill me, essentially. Essentially.
I
Right?
hadn't thought of it like that, but now that you're saying it, like, I don't disagree. Like, I think that is definitely...
He wasn't going to fight him back. He was not going to fight back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you need to do in this moment. I'm helping you do it.
Was he the sacrificial lamb?
The scapegoat. That's right.
But
That's right.
The last thing I'll have to say about Gabriel was I just busted out laughing. at the very last scene.
The one that Angela Kang mentions, or
Yeah, probably when Jerry's like, "Hey, you guys, something's coming," and he just kind of goes, "Oh." It's kind of like, for fuck's sake, really? We just
we
got
were all-
back. One
but
day.
especially him. One more, Aaron. One more. I kind of want to go in the round and want to see what you guys think of that scene that you may have seen otherwise or may have interpreted otherwise, because it's rife with interpretation, kind of like the Bible. Gross. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. I'm not saying the Bible's gross. I'm saying it's a lot. That it's gross that there's a lot. It's gross. Yeah. It's like I almost hate doing this podcast because of the Bible.
Well, but Dave, you Dave are steeped in Old Testament.
Yeah.
And with my faith, mine is a combination of the two. But it was not uncommon, even in the Old Testament, for there to be war. God was a loud God in the Old Testament. He got his point across, whether it was bringing down fire from the sky or a burning bush, but I think it is in the small things too. And I think faith overall in the whole show, it's faith in self, it's faith in God, it's faith in your person to your left and the person to your right, and this whole thing is nothing but a doubt of faith through and where does your faith lie?
Yeah, and where do you get the feedback and the validation and the where's the haptic feedback to all the things that we're doing to know that what we're doing is right? Daryl asks that, the fire.
Yeah,
that's the key thing, is like I kind of knew what I was supposed to do, and I felt like in a way, man, he's taking on that Rick role where it's like, what would Rick do? What would Rick Grimes do? And Leah being so key to that thought, in that he was always sneaking out to try to find Rick, because the last thing Rick wanted to do was keep people together, keep Carl's vision alive, and he's been holding on to that. And then Leah being right there in front of him saying, we can't keep killing each other.
Right. I
mean, he survived all-out war, so he knows the consequences of his actions. I don't know. This is all the stuff that keeps going on in my mind. Like, and both Daryl and Gabriel are entitled to a crisis of faith. Daryl saying, probably thinking, was Maggie right with what she was? It doesn't feel right, probably. But if they were determined to kill them, no matter what, he saw what Leah was about to do with the sniper, with Jensen. So I kind of wonder. I mean, even myself, I'm a doubting Thomas. I feel what Maggie did was wrong, but kind of what Gabriel says to Daryl is it all depends on who's making the choice. They purposefully keep us on this fascinating ethical line where it's like, well, you could say this, but what about that? What about that? You can't ignore that. You can't ignore that she wanted to kill him 3 times.
Right. And we saw that with Negan and Maggie in their conversation that they had at the campfire, was when he pointed out to her, you went into the satellite, you killed my people while they were sleeping. So, he's exactly right. It depends on who's making the choice, who's right in what their decision is. If it's right for their people, then it's the right decision.
But doesn't that unsettle you all a little bit? Because something Negan also said, is something I believe that is inherent with everybody, is that we're all the hero of our own story. So it should be unsettling to you to hear that from Gabriel. It's like, well, if we're all the hero in our own story, then we're all right, and then we're all wrong also. So we're all capable of this really weird. I mean, look at Maggie. Oh, we're doing this to get the food. Really? Is it all about the food? Because it didn't become that by the end of this.
Yeah.
Right. But then then I have to look at that.
I think because we are in theory we're looking at it from Maggie's perspective, but every single one of us has looked at that and gone, right, is what Maggie done right? We're not just automatically assuming that because she's our main protagonist that she's right in this instance. So maybe
Thomas.
We're not all the hero in our own story. Maybe we can put perspective on it,
That's a really good thing, because it also makes me wonder what Maggie's thinking. What is Maggie thinking in this moment after this? What is the consequence of her action? And I'm good at this segue shit. And we do see a hint of what that could be. The result of having gotten their revenge. They're at Hilltop by the end of this episode. 6 months later, she's cut her hair. Elijah's at the top of the wall with her, looking over at Commonwealth soldiers. A more casually dressed Lance in his stylish, sort of like a hunting vest gear, as if he's, I'm out in the woods now. Ooh, let me look stylish this way. And with his back turned to everybody too, and says, Daryl, be the dog that you are and come up to the gate, and then basically giving them what seems to be a shakedown. Why? It seems like they're not complying with wanting to become a Commonwealth outpost. What is your take on what is going on that scene, keeping in mind the decision she made in this episode to kill everybody? Leah gets away, and then what's going on at the end of the episode?
Well, I wrote in my notes that Daryl and Maggie had been at odds, during this Reaper battle, because he doesn't want to see everybody dead, and she does, and so they're at odds there. And so I thought it was a nice full circle moment, as much as I don't want them to be at odds, that they are again in this 6 months later with whatever is happening there.
Right, and for entirely different reasons, I have to imagine. Well, what's funny about what we're just saying right now? It's always these little things I have to keep track of. That scene with Daryl and Jesus and Maggie at the end of season 8, the season finale. They're all conspiring to be like, fuck Rick. But then you go back to this scene at the end of this episode, and now they're at odds. And I'm going to throw this out there, most likely for similar reasons to Rick. It must be because who on earth would have anticipated Daryl Dixon in a Commonwealth soldier's uniform, trooper uniform? Who on earth? Not any one of us, not anybody in existence ever. So why on earth would he do that if not because he believes this is the best way forward, which is a Rick thing? We got to all find a place for everybody. This is the way it's got to go if we want to bring back things. And then Maggie again, though, which is, hey, who doesn't love consistency? Maggie again thinking, Nobby, we got to take care of our own. I don't know. And again, not knowing who's right at this point in time, or not even knowing if I'm right at this point in time.
But wasn't Maggie with Georgie, weren't they connected with the Commonwealth?
Not confirmed. And in fact, I don't think they are whatsoever.
She and Georgie went to Tennessee, and then she split from Georgie, and she and her people went even further west. Because we were theorizing that they ran into to Virginia's group out there somewhere.
Also, she didn't exactly seem like when they arrived on the doorstep, it didn't exactly seem like, oh, I've seen these people before. It was very much who the fuck are these people, just like everybody else.
Right. And there was also too much evidence to suggest that, too much evidence against the fact that she was part of any Commonwealth or CRM. Definitely not CRM. For sure.
I mean, I just, I kind of go, maybe she just doesn't want to join because when she did leave with Georgie, she came back and she had made the statement that every community they went to was decimated.
Right.
Was that by the Reapers? Was that by CRM? Or it was very weird ending. It just kind of left you with, well, what the hell happened between 6 months,
Well, I think that's why, when we encounter organizations like the CRM and the Commonwealth, they're most definitely outliers. Reapers seems more likely. Ferals seems more likely than that. So having the organization to have these intense, large, organized groups that have a binding philosophy of some kind is an outlier. So when we go back to Georgie, we see that's been tried and done, unless they have some sort of culty-like binding philosophy, they're going to fail. And Maggie is telling that story, but she's also, in a sense, telling that story on behalf of all the other communities that probably tried and failed. That she's basically giving you a state of the world, not just as it pertains to Maggie. Maggie's almost emblematic of that journey and that attempt, and that places like Alexandria are outliers. Alexandria is an outlier of an outlier, because the only real places, by the way, this is a very weird thing to say, but the only places that seem to be not only strong, but thriving are places like the CRM and Commonwealth, which they don't really know of yet. But I say this is funny because it's kind of like what we're going through now, where it's like the mom and pop shops are closing down because Amazon and Walmart and whatever, because big box stores and smaller stores can't be open. I'm not trying to make a commentary here, but now it's kind of like, well, slap me in the face. It's kind of obvious. But when you look at the zombie world, it's like, oh, well, Walmart's there and Amazon right there called the CRM. It's kind of gross, but yeah, here we are. Any other comments to the end scene, the time jump scene, essentially? Ridiculousness of Daryl still not having cut his hair, even though he's a soldier.
Was that Lance Hornsby?
Oh, that was Lance Hornsby.
Because he didn't look like Lance.
Yeah, I think
he was in this fashionable
Lance.
outdoor gear
Lance.
that you get
Yeah,
at LL Bean or something. No, that's what I was saying. Like, it looked like Lance, but he was like, I was dressing down like with the comic, so I could be with the soldiers, but I'm not a soldier.
if Maggie went back to Hilltop, I'd like to know, and I'm sure we'll find out, did Aaron go back to Alexandria? Are they going to go to Alexandria the same way that Daryl's going to Hilltop?
See, I don't know. I don't know about Aaron specifically, because I feel like there's definitely kind of a sense of I want Gracie to be in the Commonwealth. Maybe there might be, especially after what we've just seen. Like,
Yeah.
I think there's going to be like a strong pull for Aaron to want him and Gracie to live in the Commonwealth and be safe.
And then Jerry and all his kids too.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only
thinking about
reason
that.
Daryl goes.
Yeah, I mean, Alexandra is in a dire situation.
Didn't the hilltop, like, isn't that like cannibalized,
Yeah.
like, wall from there that they brought over to Hilltop? Because the wall in front of Maggie is that corrugated metal. So I kind of assumed that Alexandria was like just ditched.
Yeah, maybe they've like merged the remaining communities, like Alexandria, Oceanside, People of the Kingdom, and then anyone
That's what
that
I
doesn't want
kinda
to go to the
figured.
Commonwealth have all kind of collaborated into the Hilltop, maybe, and like used all the materials and resources from all these communities and brought them to one place.
That's a really good observation.
Hashtag where is Luke, man?
That's exactly what I was going to say. But we have seen the corrugated in the battle for Hilltop. We have seen the corrugated metal around Hilltop as well. Because over the years, reinforcement, wood, rot, whatever, you got to replace it with something. The only question I have with regards to that is, now that they've jumped us 6 months into the future, will they jump back?
Yes.
Will they do a time jumpy wimey thingy,
I
or will
watched
they just
the,
go back?
behind the episode thing? And Angela King pretty much said that they just jumped ahead. That you're going to go back and they're going to go back and
Okay.
fill it all in.
I'd imagine that eventually we're going to catch up to that moment again.
Right.
And like maybe like
Yeah.
episode 15 or 16 or
Yeah,
something.
it'll be that'll be the end of 11B.
That's what
and
I'm
Or
then
maybe
they
like
too.
15
catch
and then
back
they'll
up
have
to
like
that.
a little bit of extra story going into 16 or something along them lines.
Yeah.
I might be more inclined to think like maybe this is the beginning of 11C.
Yeah, I
in a
think Sharon
sense.
is right. I think this is
The
going to be. I
showdown.
think we're seeing the cliffhanger for 11C.
Yeah, possibly,
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
Mhm.
And that's pretty cool. I like that. If that's the case, I think that's very clever.
Yeah.
Like to not see it again. First of all, for probably what 6 months, 8 months.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
We won't see that scene ever again.
It's good because it tells you like it doesn't tell you like enough, but it tells you that something's happened, like something's going down.
There's a big dynamic build.
Yeah.
There is a weird like for comics. I haven't read the comics, but I know enough to know that they're making Hilltop a particular character in a sense. I don't know if that makes
Are you
sense.
referring to
Sherry, to put a pin in, to put a button on it. But it's clear that, right, you can sacrifice your individuality if you go to the Commonwealth and you're safe and you're happy. You have a chance to be an artist and you have a chance to be a cake maker or whatever you're going to be. Or you can embrace your individuality, go at it alone, and have things fail all over again. This is a dire choice. And Hilltop seems like, if I'm interpreting this right, I could be wrong, is making the choice of individuality. Hey, we can go at it on our own. We've always been able to make it, and we're making it now. Just like the fine ethical line that they keep us on when it comes to this episode, is that the right choice? And we're not here to discuss that, but I'm wondering if you're faced with that choice and you have the choice of going at it alone, is that wrong?
Well, when you look at the previews for the coming episodes, a lot of our people look really broken. And that's as a direct result of being at the Commonwealth.
Of the Commonwealth?
Yeah,
Or
at the Commonwealth. Linda Athens drew the shot of Princess. Every
Yeah.
bit of that little spark and craziness is gone, and then you see that.
It's flattened.
Yeah, and then you see
with
that
her hair?
extreme gulf between Magna and Yumiko. If you are Yumiko and you have a Harvard degree, sure, I think the Commonwealth is good for you. But if you are
Don't.
Daryl or you are Princess, I think it's not. I think it really shows a lot of our characters broken. And to what degree do you maintain that brokenness for safety or?
I think it's very much going to kind of play on like some of like the real world ideas of like the rich will thrive or the well-educated higher class of society will thrive,
Status, right?
whereas the poor or the working class will just get to survive. That's going to be the way it's going to be.
Then there's the ultimate question too, because our survivors, the people that we've been following, are in a unique position of knowing that it may be, and this is the wrestling, right? It may be better to live under such conditions, knowing what's out there. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not like the people that have been with the Commonwealth from the very beginning, where they're like, we're already seeing propaganda posters, like, fuck the Commonwealth. They don't know. You don't know. You don't know what's out there. But our people do. And there's a brokenness of several varieties that are at play here.
But there's something to remember. You know, Daryl saw everything in the tunnel. And all of that stuff and the writings and the drawings on the wall.
And yet, what is his choice, right? He chooses to side with each other, like the elite or the kings.
I think he does that strictly because
Judith,
of the kids.
he's the closest thing Judith has to a father right now. Rick's gone, Michonne's gone. I mean, he's really the closest thing Judith has to a guardian.
Right.
Because we know we don't want to give her to Carol.
Ah!
One thing I would like to note, though, is that, like, even though we don't see, like, the politics of Alexandria, there is obviously going to be a level of politics there. There's going to be a level of, well, you have to do this guard duty because we need guard duties covered at all time. You have to make the bread. You have to do this. And everyone does get set jobs, but because it's so small and, like, localized, there's no one, like, you know, just in charge of retail work or just in charge of this or that. And it's obviously allocated in a different way. But do you not think if Alexandria was on, like, a larger scale where people couldn't actually, like, directly see the effects of their jobs and how it's helping the survival, that it could become, like, not similar to the Commonwealth in some but similar in some respects, where you're forced to do your job. You have this job, you're forced to do it. That's the way it's got to be. They're just allocated in a different manner.
Well, there's something to be said about harmony, though, and people feel like they're doing something and they're good at it, and then they just keep doing it because they're good at it or whatever.
People kind of have...
And feeling that result.
People can feel the result, and obviously you're not going to be shoehorned into a job based on your past choice, which is, like, a big factor. But in a way,
right,
like, they do have a similar system. Just the actual allocation of the job and the actual satisfaction and fulfillment might be different.
Right, the incentive mechanism is still present at Alexandria, or Hilltop, to the example.
You can't directly see your impact on the bigger picture when you're in the Commonwealth, perhaps.
Right, and especially if you're not our survivors, which is it's kind of my point. You know, like, it's like, oh, tell me what to do. I'll do it, please. Right. I don't want. It's too much.
Yeah, I don't want to live. I don't want to live out there, so I'll do anything to be here.
Yeah, and I hope we get to see that feeling of, like, I don't care. Okay, what you want me to clean up? I'll clean up all the poop. Give me ice cream.
If I get to live here, like Daryl, I'm gonna dress up like in this guard uniform. I'm gonna, protect the Commonwealth. And now Judith and RJ are gonna get to live a proper childhood in safety.
And if we know Daryl like we know Daryl, it's more that he's doing this for everybody. Mm-hmm. He doesn't think of his dumb self.
Yeah.
I get so mad when I think about this subject.
And then other people, like maybe Rosita and Gabriel, they'll come to Commonwealth and think, yeah, you know what, I'll do whatever job I get assigned because I get to be safe and my daughter gets to be safe.
Right, and that's a good juxtaposition to have because of what happens in this episode. Maggie and Gabriel deciding that, peace is too hard. We are too far gone. Rick, Marshall, Governor. Yeah. Yeah, to Negan. Yeah, good.
Dale.
Sad. 2 points I wanted to bring up. One, this is a little breath of fresh air. When we do see Daryl, and Daryl does see Connie at Alexandria, and he drops the apples, did you catch out of the corner of your eye Carol smiling? Now, if you're a caroler, the people who like Daryl and Carol being together, of course you don't see that.
Carol smiled, but that reunion was...
But she had a smile like this, and I'll try to describe it. She was like, oh, I see you. Oh, that I'm so happy for you.
But
it's over.
But they didn't.
CARYL is over.
They did not hug and reconnect the way he and Carol do all the time.
But that's a friendship thing,
There's definitely that friendship. I mean, she pushed him like she would a brother.
Connie and Daryl are just still in like the texting stage, just getting to know each other.
That's exactly what I was thinking. It's exactly what I was thinking. They're still in the courtship. Where are boundaries? I don't know.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
They're still passing notes.
Right. You're like in that awkward. Hey, do we hug here? I don't know.
But it was exceptional to see their he was definitely happy to see her. He dropped his basket for her.
Drops his basket for her.
It was the best moment in the episode.
I felt really sad for Lydia. She was very heartbroken to know that Negan was gone.
I agree. Yeah, that was a very interesting look that she made, face that she made when she heard that.
Yeah.
Especially after reckoning with Aaron, too.
Carol seemed a little surprised as well.
Jasmine, we were going to say something about Carol and Daryl being the best moment in the episode.
No, I was just saying the Connie Daryl moment was the best moment in the episode for me.
Sorry, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Why?
Because it was adorable. I actually cried. I cried at their reunion.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I'm glad I
got
asked why.
emotional,
Okay.
And I don't get emotional often.
I kind of agree with Jazzy that it was a great moment. And one of the other reasons I thought Carol was smiling was I think she then knew I'm good with Daryl. Because I think there was still a little bit of that, well, I don't want to say friction, but there was always that between
That's
them
a perfect word.
that Carol trapped Connie in the cave and Connie was probably dead because of Carol. So I think, you see that also relief on her face of, okay, good. He knows she's alive. All is well in the world of Carol and Daryl again.
And then I think maybe not. Like, is that enough, right? Right? When you think about it, like,
a step in the right
it
direction.
helps.
Yeah.
Right, it
Yeah,
helps.
yeah,
But
yeah.
does that change things? I think it wasn't enough that Carol was responsible or her actions were responsible. So, talk about Elijah, right? That her actions were responsible for Connie being trapped under all that rubble. But the fact that in that episode, in one of the bonus episodes, in Find Me, that she was trying to pretend like everything was okay when it's not okay. And Daryl even trying to humor her for as long as he could until, just like me in the story I said earlier, you kind of blow up. It's like, oh, you can only say, okay. Enough with your bullshit. And then you go, what the fuck do you want? What? Nothing's normal. That's okay. But stop it. I think you're right in that it helps, but seeing Daryl in that uniform makes me think that he's moving beyond. I don't know about moving beyond their friendship, but I don't know. Some wounds can't heal. I think ultimately they will always love each other. Why else would you
Platonically.
care that much?
Well, something will bring them
Either
back.
or,
Something,
whatever.
If AMC is not lying to us and Gimple is not lying to us and they're going to pull something on us at the end, then they will reconnect and go off somehow together.
I'm starting to think that maybe the Carol and Daryl spinoff is all about them finding a way to reconnect. One of them being somewhere else, the other one being somewhere entirely. One of them hears news of the other in trouble or involved in something,
Right.
or something like that. And then the show is all about them trying to find each other, or one of them trying to find the other, something like that. We all assume that it's, oh, I'm going to be in the back of Daryl's motorcycle. Like, come on. That's what everybody wants to think.
But we don't know what's going to happen.
We know this show. It subverts expectations. It's not going to be black and white. It's not going to be what you think it's going to be. It's going to be Walker Daryl being led by a very alive Michonne. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it all along. Michonne has Walker Carol and Walker Daryl, armless
Lord.
and limbless and mouthless, forever.
Oh,
Anyway.
Lord.
There is one more thing we needed to bring up, and that is the blackboards that were in the fight scene between Daryl and that Reaper Austin. There isn't too many crazy things, obviously. I will mention the dumb things and glide past them, but blackboard number 1 is the first thing we see is what letters spell your name, and it has the ABCs and all that stuff. One of the words that's there is what letters spell your name. How old are you at the bottom? The only thing that I saw of note was on the left, spelled vertically, was Bibel, which I thought was interesting. It's like a Germanic spelling of the word Bible. It's a little prescient, a little relevant, but it's important because we do see a chapel in Meridian that is updated with children's photos and and very well kempt, very red. I'm gonna skip ahead to Mrs. Adams' classroom blackboard number 4. There was a small chalkboard that says, "Let everything that has breath praise the Lord." Interesting, considering that scene with Mency and Gabriel. Going back to blackboard 2 is the one you referenced earlier, Sharon D, which was remember if you get lost in the woods, STOP, which is stop as soon as you realize you're lost. Think about the situation, that's T. Observe your surroundings, O. And P, plan what to do. The rest of the blackboard says, today's lesson, how to grow food, how to preserve food, how to identify spoiled food, where to find medicinal plants, what to do when you encounter wildlife. Yeah, Aaron, teach Gracie all that. Thus establishing that Mrs. Adams was in Meridian teaching these kids post the fall. with maybe with Maggie. Where is Mrs. Adams now? Ms. Adams now? We don't know, but it's kind of cool.
She walks with Joseph.
Oh. There are a couple other blackboards. One of them is stupid, but I'll just rattle off now. Fill in the blanks. I blank to the farm. I fed the blank. A horse was in the blank. The farmer blank the corn. That sounds weird saying that out loud. What is the... Well, what if the answers spell out a special hidden cipher? A message from the creators to the fans. I don't care. Anyway, blackboard number 5.
But do we work it out?
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
welcome.
Yeah.
Enjoy. I'm not doing it.
Post a shot of that when you edit this so we can all write it down and try to figure out what the word is.
Oh, it'll be in the blog. It'll be in the blog. You'll be able to do that for yourself. There's only one blackboard left. That was the dumb one. It's the one with the addition tables. 1 + 1 = 2. 1 + 2 = 3. All that stuff. Math is dumb and straightforward. I noted in the reaction video, but I made sure to check. The Walking Dead logo now is dripping with water.
With what?
Whereas in the last episode it was not. I thought that was interesting. So that's only going to get more interesting as we go.
I think it was awesome, and I loved hearing, Punky and Jazzy's thoughts, and there was a lot in this episode, but it was great.
Yeah. Annoying, but great.
Annoyingly great.
It's going to be like this, I think, always going forward. I think they are going to be jam-filled with information.
Jam-filled. Now that makes me think of Elodie's Cake Shop. Not what you're just thinking. Jasmine!
Why are you looking at me?
Can we dial it back to Fear the Walking Dead and The Walking Dead, please? Ooh, she just gave me a death stare.
With dark horses.
I had a sudden realization that I asked my flatmate to watch the podcast, and now she can't watch the podcast because we included a major Fear the Walking Dead spoiler in this podcast, and she's not caught up on Fear the Walking Dead yet.
Ooh, well, unless I cut it out.
But then you cut it out for everybody else. So.
That's true. That's
and
true.
It was a good point.
We're catering to just your friend.
Yeah. Can you edit one and send it to just my friend?
Yeah. Well, you can edit.
I don't know how to edit stuff.
So does the new episode drop tonight or tomorrow night?
Supposedly.
Not the one we're reviewing, but
next week's.
Yeah.
Yeah. It should be dropping. It's supposed to, according to their dumb schedule.
It is stupid.
It should be. No, I think the schedule they posted is genius.
Okay.
But it's supposed to drop 9:00, the night of the public airing.
AMC plus the episode.
Yeah.
I got it, but last week it dropped during the day because I watched it in the afternoon.
I watched it that morning when I got up to go to work.
You watched it. You watched it.
I watched it.
Yeah.
With her watching.
Because I watched it as soon as I got in from work, and obviously I'm 5 hours behind. So.
Yeah, I just hope they actually adhere to their own schedule. That's all I care about. Because so far not good. We'll find out at 3 a.m.
But does it make
time.
much difference, really?
That they follow through with their promises and with their expectations.
Yeah, but what's
I guess it doesn't. You're right. It's The Walking Dead.
Yeah, what's 10 hours?
I did want to bring up one more thing, and that's Negan's decision to leave, which does dovetail very nicely to our renewed thoughts of perhaps renewed thoughts of Neggie. Because why do you think Negan leaves?
Because absence makes the heart grow stronger. Come on, Dave.
Jesus Christ with this noise. Well, at least she said it, right? Right, Shandy? Right, Shandy? Round of applause for Jasmine.
Because
as Rachel cries as she listens to this episode.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
He said it.
He left because he doesn't want to die.
Yeah, he literally just watched Maggie go crazy on the Reapers. I don't blame him.
I mean, he said it. You're going to make that same decision with me, and I'm not going to give you the opportunity.
It is something that we've talked about just in this episode about equity, about trust and equity, right? Have you built up enough trust?
I do think if Negan actually does die in the series, I think he will do so in some relationship to Maggie, whether it's saving Maggie or saving Herschel, if he does die. I'm hoping he doesn't. I'm hoping he gets his own little show of, how he became a savior and yada,
yeah,
yada,
but
yada.
if he dies, he can still have that spin-off at this stage.
Yeah.
True. True, true, true. But I do think if he does, I mean, and I totally see him doing that as some kind of penance.
If he even gets there. But Sharon brings up a really, really good point, and it's not just for people who are in that universe, it's for us. You know, for all we know or care, Maggie has been absent. And so that's felt by the audience, and it's also felt by the people in the communities. But I really feel in that moment, on its face, let's just put it, he does go back to the promise that Maggie made that she's going to kill him, or the promise that he picks up on of the fact that Maggie's going to kill him. Which, whether or not, and he even says it, whether or not that's true, I'm not going to stick around long enough to find out because of your actions here today.
Yeah, promise or
not. Which does make me come back to what Maggie thought Negan was saying in that moment when she defers to his opinion, which is why I said, does it seem maybe perhaps that Maggie was asking permission of Negan, permission to kill these fools, rather than his opinion? And if that opinion is killing those fools, I'm not sure because of this last scene. Well, I didn't want you to kill all of them. I just meant like, I just want to get out of here alive. What are you talking about? What are you doing?
Yeah, but if they didn't have, like, some kind of mutual kind of, you know what I'm thinking situation, you know, like couples do, then I don't think Negan would have, you know, just said, you know what I'm thinking. You know, he had to assume that Maggie knew what he was thinking.
That was, okay, first of all, that was really cleverly put, because we're right on the line of not knowing what you're thinking, but maybe thinking the one thing, or maybe the other thing, which is the Neggie thing, or the... Couples always do.
They have a spiritual connection. Some would say soulmates.
I didn't think of that. I will leave that opinion out there for anybody who feels the same. I will say it is made clear by the end of this episode that Maggie is Negan's regret personified, meaning she's making that decision. Oh, wouldn't it be cool if? But only because Maggie has suffered way more than Negan. Been put in similar situations, but has lost every single time. You know, imagine if the saviors were losers every single time, and she had to keep building up saviors all over again, but still doing the whole like, oh, we're not going to kill everybody, we'll kill one, but then all of her people die, and then she has to build that community up again, and then all those people die. Completely different circumstances, and yet
there is a respect. There is a respect between them as leaders, and I think. In a recent interview with Jeffrey Dean, he said that his biggest regret of Negan was them having him kill Glenn.
But it was within the context of also why did people leave The Walking Dead? Why do they?
Right, but
who's still watching the show?
Okay, here's Sharon, what she was saying. Basically, I was saying as far as new people, some Alexandrians would side with Negan since they don't know Maggie at all. And they have seen Negan be a useful member of the community. And
I wonder if this is actually going to come up in the coming episodes. I don't think so, to be honest. There may be moments, but then again, Negan is off. This is kind of what I want to get to. Negan decides that, you know, I can't trust you enough. You've lost the equity of me trusting you to not kill me. Because if this is what you're capable of, making a promise to these Reapers and going back on it because you have a prior engagement or a prior promise, well, what if you wanted to enact the prior promise that you had for me?
Right.
So it's funny how his decision isn't to thwack her with that pipe, which is what Maggie at least thought was going to happen.
I think she thought it, yeah.
You know, when you look at that scene in retrospective, it's like he was never going to do that. He was just going to say goodbye, which is an honorable move. Like, I'm not going to give you the chance, and I know the tension between us is something, but I'm not going to push my luck here. Because you remember, like, at the end of Here's Negan, that weird smile, right? That weird smile. Like, oh, I'm going to be here in spite of you. I've earned my place here.
Charity says, Charity says, I never thought he was going to hit her. He might hit it.
You mean thwack it with some pipe?
Whack it with some
Bridget
pipe?
Is not approving of this.
And with that, everybody, thanks for joining us on another long episode of Squawking Dead. If you like what you heard, head over to ratethispodcast.com/Squawking Dead. 5 stars and maybe 5 pipes and an eggplant. Is all we need to know that you love us. But if you want to write more to tell us what we got right, what we got wrong, let us know after every episode, because it really, really does help, and it helps us figure out what we should be doing, what we shouldn't be doing, and we'll probably not listen to you anyway. But hey, if you really love us, and you want to follow this journey, be a part of the family, because it's really not about money. We're not really making any. Head on over to ko-fi.com/squawkingdead and just follow us. You don't have to buy us a coffee or join a membership tier. Just follow us. You'll know when we record. You'll know when unedited episode recordings drop. And if and when you decide to act, you can pounce on it by tipping us and getting 30 days of access to supported back content, or you can join a membership tier for as little as $1, and that includes access to our Discord. $1. There's a signal.
It's $1.
It's a watch a bottle rocket. That's all it is. Although that was quite the explosion.
No, that was the $40 bottle rocket.
That's the $40 tier, which is I haven't made up yet. But if it's called the watch a tier, so
You get to blow up the podcast.
oh yeah. Well, if you join the watch a tier for a year, you can do whatever you want with it. What is the math on that?
That's what
It's
he
not.
said.
It's actually not as much money as I thought it was.
If you commit to buying the Watcher tier for 10 years,
For 10, yeah, then you could really
you,
sell it and
then you could
to
then
Disney.
you could, yeah.
And they'll say fuck you.
Are you not ashamed?
I am not ashamed.
Are you
Anyway,
not ashamed?
I've been your host, David Cameo. I was joined by, briefly, well, for the most part, Charity, aka Blazy Gardner, and Survivors tier members, Eliza Jones, Bridget, and Jasmine. Thank you very much for being here, hosts and listeners alike, and we will hopefully see you in the next one. Take care, everybody. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Say goodbye,
Okay.
Bridget.
Bye!
Hi, Bridget.
Ooh. Ooh, Jasmine. Oh, knives out.
It's not gonna be me, Jasmine. It's not gonna be me.